Hey everyone, welcome back to Code with Poonam. If you're new here, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more coding tutorials. We are on day 8 of our 30-day pattern challenge. And today's pattern is all about printing a downward facing right angle triangle where each row is filled with its row number. So let's proceed with the challenge and we will move towards our VS Code. So in the VS Code, if we see here, we have already our question here, right? So what is the question? We have to write a JavaScript function to print a downward facing right angle triangle. And this is the output which we have to generate here, okay? So now what we will do, we will come down and we are going to write the important part of this question. So first of all, we will write here what? JavaScript function. So I'll just put it over here. After that, what is the next important part here? That we have to print a downward facing right angle triangle. So this is the most important part. So I will just take it over here. Now we will come at line number 9 and we are going to define our function name. So I will keep our function name as what? Print pattern, okay, with a parenthesis. So this will be our function name. Now we will come down and to achieve this particular output, we are going to write our approach. So I will just write here what? Approach, okay. Now, first of all, in this, we are going to create what? We are going to create an str variable. So, I will just write here what? Create an str variable. Why we need to create this str variable? Because it is going to hold the final output, we can say, or final pattern, we can say, okay? So what we will do here, we will write here what? Let str is equal to double quotes. So what we are doing, we are initializing this with an empty string, okay? Now in this question, we are going to use here again our nested loop itself. Now what is a nested loop? Nested loop means loop inside and loop. So I will just write it over here, loop inside and loop, okay? And in this question, we are going to use how many loops? 2 loops. That will be what? Our outer loop, and we will have here what? Our inner loop, okay? Now, in our previous videos, we know we are using our outer loop to control our rows, right? So I will just write here what? We are going to use this outer loop to control our n number of rows, okay? So I will just write it over here. And our inner loop is going to control what? It is going to control our n number of columns, okay? So this we are nothing but we are just assuming that our outer loop is going to control our n number of rows and our inner loop is going to control what? Our n number of columns, okay? And now what we are going to do here, I will just assume that our outer loop will be what? Our I loop, okay? And our inner loop will be what? It will be our j loop, okay? So that is what I am writing it over here. Now we will go above, and from this particular pattern, now we are going to identify how many rows we have, how many columns we have, okay? So I will just put this over here, okay? And now let us identify how many rows we have. So if we see, this is the first row, right? After that, this is our second row, correct? After that, here we have our third row, and after this we have our fourth row, right? So in this totally how many rows we have? We have 4 rows, and we know our rows are going to be controlled by whom? By our I loop. So that also I will just write it over here, here as well, and lastly here also, okay? Now we will go above and we are going to identify how many columns we are having. So if we see here, this is our first column. After that, this is our second column. After that, this is our third column. And lastly, this is our fourth column, right? So I will just write here what? 4. So in total, how many columns we have? We have 4 columns, right? So this is our first column. After that, this is our second column. This is our third column. And then we have our fourth column as well, right? So we have here 4 columns, and it is going to manage by whom? It is going to be managed by our j loop, right? So that is what I will write it over here, that it is going to be managed by our j loop, okay? Now, if we observe this clearly one more time, the printing of it, okay? Now we have understood how many rows we have, how many columns we have. If we see the order of the printing at each row, okay? So if we see what we have here, we are printing here how many? 4? 4 times 4 we are printing, right? So I will just write, we are printing here 4 times what? 4 we are printing, correct? Now if you come down here, what we are printing? We are printing 3 times 3, right? So that is what I will write it over here. After that, what we are printing? We are printing here 2 times 2, correct? So that is what I will just make a note of it. After that, lastly, what we are printing? We are printing 1 times 1, correct? So I will just write here what? 1. So this is the output we want to get at each particular row, okay? Now, if you clearly observe your I loop, so our I loop, we are starting from where? We are starting from 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? Now, if you just reverse the order, like if you make this 4, then if you make this 3, then if you make this 2, and if you make this 1, at the end, we are having 4 rows itself, right? And if we start from 4, then what it is going to happen? If our J loop starts from 1, and if it is ending till our I value, so we can have here 4 times 4 printing, and we will be printing here I value. So therefore, we are going to get the exact output. We will see in our upcoming working and in our for loop structure as well, how it is going to be written, okay? But just for the understanding purpose, go through this properly, pause the video, understand this, what I am trying to explain here, okay? So here we have to print 4 times 4. And if we reverse the order and if we make our J loop running from 1 to our I, so what will happen? From 1 to I means 1 to 4. So we can easily get 4 times 4. Then again 1 to I, that means 1 to 3. Then easily we can get 3 times 3. Again here 1 to I, that means 1 to 2. That means 2 times, easily it will print 2 times 2, right? And lastly 1 itself, so it is just going to print 1. And if you see the values which are printing, that is nothing but our I value. So that is what we are going to just print our I. So this is the entire thing which we are going to do it now after this, okay? So now what we will do, we will come down and we will just identify now the start, end, and we are going to write that what we will be writing the condition in our loop also, okay? So I will just write here what? Our I loop. Then I will write here what? Our J loop. And I am going to write here what? Start. Here also I will write here start. And after that, here I am going to write end. And here also I will write end, okay? Now, let us go to our I loop. So we know that we have reversed the order. So therefore, our I loop is going to start from where? It is going to start from 4. And we will store this 4 inside our n variable, okay? So that is why I'm writing here what? N is equal to 4, okay? After that, where it is going to end? It is going to end at 1 itself, right? Now, if you come here for the J loop start, where it is going to start? It is going to start definitely at 1, correct? That is what we have seen. So it is going to start definitely at 1, but where it is going to end? It will end till our I only. So we are going to write here what? End hyphen I. So it is going to end at I. Now let us see what is the condition and what are the increment, decrement, what we are going to write it for our loop, okay? So I will write here what? I is equal to n. I should be greater than or is equal to 1, okay? This is what we are going to write. And then we are going to write here what? Decrement. Why decrement? You can see here, there is 4, there is 3, there is 2, there is 1, right? So therefore, we are going to use here what? Our decrement operator, okay? Now for our J loop, what we are going to do? We will be writing here J is equal to 1 and J should end at where? It should end at our I itself. So I will write here what? Less than or is equal to I, and I will write here what? J plus plus, okay? So this will be our structure which we are going to write it. Now let us write the same inside our for loop structure also and see. So we will come here and we will write here what? For, and then I will write here what? Let I is equal to what? N, correct? And then I must be greater than or is equal to our 1. And then I minus minus, okay? Then flower braces, and then we will write our J loop also inside this. So I will write here what? For, let J is equal to what? 1, correct? And it should end at where? It should end at our I, right? So J should be less than or is equal to I, and then J plus plus, okay? So then here we are going to do what? We are going to concatenate here our I value, correct? to the str variable, right? So let us do that here now. So I will write here what str plus is equal to our I, okay? And once our this loop execution is completed, we want our cursor to take it down right after each execution. So here we are going to concatenate what str plus is equal to double quotes of backward slash of n, right? And once entire execution is done, then we are just going to print here what our str variable, right? And therefore we are going to get our final output also, okay? Now let us come down and we are going to understand the working of it in each case, how it is going to perform the execution, okay? So now we will take this I is equal to n, I greater than or is equal to 1 and I minus minus, okay? So we are just going to put it over here, okay? After that, what we will do, we are just going to substitute the values inside this, okay? So let us write here what I is what right now 4, right? Because I is equal to n, that means I is equal to 4. So here I am going to write 4 is greater than or is equal to 1 and I minus minus, correct? So if you see here what it is going to be, the condition is going to be true, right? Because 4 is definitely greater than 1, right? And therefore, since this condition is true, it is going to execute our J loop also. So we will take this and we are just going to substitute the values here after putting this over here. So J is equal to 1 and J less than or is equal to our I, that means our 4, right? So now if you just test this particular condition, 1 is less than 4 or not, it is less, right? And therefore we are going to get here what? True. And therefore we are going to concatenate our I value here. So we are going to concatenate here what? 4, correct? After that, what will happen? Our J value is going to increase. So I will write here what? J is equal to 2. And now 2 less than or is equal to 4. Now here again, this condition is going to be true because 2 is less than 4, right? And therefore again, I am going to print our or concatenate our I value. That is what is our 4, right? And after that, again, our J value is going to increment, right? So I will write here what? J is equal to 3. 3 less than or is equal to 4. And if we see here, our condition is again true because 3 is definitely less than 4, right? And therefore, we are going to print here or concatenate here what? Our I value, that means 4, right? And after that, again, our J value is going to increase. So I will write here what? J is equal to 4. 4 less than or is equal to 4. Now, in this case, what it is going to happen? 4 is equal to 4 because 4 is not less than 4, but 4 is equal to 4. So, therefore, here again the condition is going to be true and we are going to concatenate here what? One more time our I value, that is nothing but what? 4, okay? After that, what will happen? Our J value is again going to increase. So it will become what? J is equal to 5 and then 5 is less than or is equal to 4. Okay. Now if you test the condition, this turns out to be false. Okay. And therefore here the termination of the loop is going to happen. And finally in our str variable, what we are going to store? We are going to store 4, 4, 4. Okay. That means 4 times 4. And that is what we needed here, right? After the first execution, it should print me 4 times 4. And after that, the cursor should take it down. So this is what we have written. So the cursor will automatically go down, okay? After that, what will happen? Our I value is going to now decrement, okay? So I will just take this and we are just going to put it over here. And we will write here what? Now I will be what? 3 and 3 greater than or is equal to 1. Now again, this condition is true because 3 is greater than 1, right? And therefore our J loop is going to execute again. So I will just take this and we are going to substitute the values now, okay? So I will write here what? J is equal to 1, okay? And what is our I? It is nothing but 3. Now test our condition. Now 1 is less than 3 or not? Yes, it is true because 1 is less, right? And therefore you are going to print here what? 3, right? Because our I value. After that, what will happen? Our J value is again going to increase. So J is equal to 2. 2 is less than or is equal to 3. Again, the condition is true because 2 is less, right? And again, we are going to print here what? 3, right? After that, what will happen? J value is again going to increase. So J is equal to 3 and then here we will have what? 3 is less than or is equal to 3. 3 is not less than 3 but it is equal to 3 and therefore we are going to get here true and finally we will print again what? Here 3, right? And after that, what will happen? J value is again going to increase. So it will become what? 4 and here also 4, right? So if you now test the condition, 4 is not less, not is equal to 3. Therefore, here the condition is going to fail and here your termination of the loop is going to happen, okay? And once the loop get terminated, we will have in our str variable what? Plus is equal to, we will store here what? 3 times 3. That is what we are going to get, okay? Now, if you see here, we are getting here the same, right? Let us go little more above. This is what we are getting, okay? Now, after that, the next execution. So, what will happen in the next execution? Our I value is again going to decrement. So, we will just take it from here and we are just going to put here what? Our I value will become what? 2 and then 2 is greater than or is equal to 1 and I minus minus, right? Now, again, if we test the condition is true, right? Because 2 is greater than 1, right? And therefore, our J loop is going to execute again. So, we will take this and we are just going to put it down, okay? Now, we will write here what? J is equal to 1. So, therefore, I will write here what? 1. And what is our I value? It is nothing but 2, right? Now, let us test the condition. 1 is less than or is equal to 2. Yes, it is less, right? And therefore, the condition turns out to be true. And therefore, we are going to print here what? Our I value, that means 2, right? After that, what will happen? J value is again going to increase. So, J is equal to 2 here and we will put here also 2. Now, 2 is not less than 2 but it is equal to 2, right? Therefore, we will get here what? True and we are going to print once again our 2. That means our I value, right? After that, what will happen? Our J value is going to increase. So, J is equal to 3 and 3 is less than or is equal to 2. Now, if we again test the condition, it is going to be false, right? And therefore, we are going to write here what? F. Because 3 is not less than not is equal to 2. And therefore, here itself, our loop is going to terminate. So, I will just write here what? Terminate. And in our str variable, it is going to concatenate what? 2 times 2, okay? After that, what it is going to happen? Again, our I value is going to decrement, right? So, it will become what? 1. So, I will just write here what? I is equal to 1. 1 is greater than or is equal to 1, correct? Here, again, the condition turns out to be true because 1 is equal to true, right? And therefore, the J loop execution will start. So, we will take this from here and we are just going to now substitute the values, okay? So, I will write here what? J is equal to 1 and what is our I value? It is again 1, right? Now, if we test the condition, what it will be? 1 is not less, but it is equal to 1, right? Therefore, it is going to print here what? True. And we are going to get here what? Our I value, that means our 1, okay? After that, what will happen? Our J value is again going to increase. So, J is equal to 2 and 2 is less than or is equal to 1. Now, here what will happen? The condition turns out to be false, right? And therefore, here we will terminate our J loop. And in our str variable, what we will have? We will have just one time 1 printing. If you go above, that is what we wanted. 4 times 4, 3 times 3, 2 times 2 and 1 times 1, right? So that is what we have done here. And once entire execution will be done, what we are going to do? We are going to print our str variable, which is going to hold our final output, okay? Now, since we have understood the entire working, we have understood the loop structure, we have understood our start and end point, we have also understood thoroughly the output also. So now we will proceed with writing our function, okay? So before that, we will just open a new terminal and we will take it to the right here and we will just open this new terminal, okay? And we will come here and we are just going to write here what function, and our function name will be what? Print pattern, parenthesis, flower braces, and let us invoke it here, print pattern, and we will pass here argument as in 4 and we will receive here to our n parameter, okay? So I will just write here what n and I will write here what? Console.log of n. Now just test it in the terminal. So we will write here what? Node08 pattern.js. If we see, we are getting here 4 as an output, right? That means whatever we are passing here, it is able to receive and we are able to print also, right? Now what we are going to do? We are going to declare here an str variable, okay? After that, what we will do? We will start our for loop structure. So I will write here what? For let I is equal to what? It will be n. I should be greater than or is equal to 1 and then I minus minus, okay? And then we are going to write our j loop also. So for let j is equal to 1, j should be less than or is equal to I and j plus plus, okay? Now we will see here execution of it. So I will write here what? Console.log of I hyphen double quotes inside that. And then I will write here what? I, after that double quotes, j hyphen, after that our j, okay? Now let us come here and test it in the terminal. So I will write here what? Node08 pattern.js. And if we see when I is equal to 4, j is running 4 times. That is what we wanted here, right? When I is equal to 4, it should run 4 times. And we have to print here what? Our I value. So we can easily get it from here. After that, when I becomes 3, our j should run how many times? 3 times. That is what we have done here also. And we are getting here 3 times, right? That means if you see, we will get it properly. If you see here the I value. Same goes for when I becomes 2, it is going to print 2 times 2. And when I is equal to 1, it is just going to print once our I value. That is nothing but our 1, correct? So if you see, it is not going beyond 1. Why it is not going beyond 1? Because if you come here and if you see, our I value is going to decrement, right? So I will write here what? I is equal to 0, correct? And here 0 is greater than or is equal to 1. So if you test the condition, 0 is not greater, it is not is equal to 1. Therefore here it is going to fail, and therefore here itself it will be the end of the loop, okay? And therefore in the execution, it is not going for 0, it is stopping at 1 itself, okay? And therefore we are getting in the console this particular output, okay? Now we will come down and we will just comment it out and we will just store our I value inside our str. That means we are going to do the concatenation now. So str plus is equal to our I am going to write, and after this I'm just going to print our str variable also. So I'll write here what? Console.log of str. Now let us just clear the terminal and I'm going to write here what? Node08 pattern.js. Now if you see, we are getting here 4 times 4, 3 times 3, 2 times 2 and 1 times 1. But it is not coming properly, right? One after the another. So for that, what we are going to do? We are going to write here what? Str plus is equal to double quotes of backward slash of n. Now if you come here and see now Node08 pattern.js, we are going to get our exact output. But there is one more line here, right? So we have seen in our previous videos that if this case happens, we are going to use what? Our trim method, right? So I will use the trim method. Now this trim method is going to what do? It is going to remove the additional spaces before and after from the string. Now let us come in the terminal and I will write here what? Node08 pattern.js. And if we see now, we are getting our exact output, okay? Now we will come to our line number 58 and we are just going to comment it over here. And I'll just clear the terminal and I'll write here what? Node08 pattern.js. And if we see now, we are getting here our desired output. Let us go above and test it here. See, it is the same output, right? So now, since we have got our output, let us have a quick recap of this particular question. So we had to write what? A JavaScript function to print a downward facing right angle triangle wherein each row, its row numbers are printed, right? So that is what we got our output also, right? Then we came here and we understood that we have to print a downward facing right angle triangle, and for that we will have to write a JavaScript function. So we took those important points and we put it over here, and we defined our function name as what? Print pattern. After that, what we did, we wrote our approach, right? So for that, we created an str variable that is going to hold our final pattern, and we initialized with an empty string. Then we used here what? Our nested loop. In that, our outer loop and inner loop will be used, right? Our outer loop going to control the rows, our inner loop is going to control our columns, right? Then we came down and we understood the output properly, right? That means what pattern we are supposed to print. And then we came down, and on the basis of that, here we wrote our start and end point also, and what is the condition we are going to write it inside our for loop. So therefore we came down and we wrote our for loop structure also on the basis of this, right? Then we came down and finally we are going to print our str variable after our for loop execution. So now since we wrote this for loop structure, we understood the working also line by line. What is going to happen when I is going to starting from 4, and when I become 0, what it is going to happen, right? So when I it is 4, it is going to start the execution, and till 1 it is going to execute, right? So I would say here, once the execution for our I loop is turning out true, it will enter inside and it is going to execute our J loop based on the condition we have given, okay? And it is going to terminate and it will store it inside our str variable, right? And when I becomes 0, it is going to terminate our I loop, and that will be our end of the loop. And finally, our str variable will be printed to get our final output. And the same thing we wrote inside our function. So at line number 57, we created a function name called as a print pattern, where we were passing n as in parameter. At line number 58, we just consoled our n to test whether everything is fine or not. After that, we created here an variable str initialized with an empty string, and then we wrote here our for loop structure, right? We consoled here how many times the execution is going to run, right? After that, we just concatenated our I value to our str variable, and finally here we are concatenating backwards slash n to our str variable, so that it should take our cursor down, right? And once our entire execution is done, we are going to print our str variable also, right? But here we were getting one additional space. For that, we used a trim method here. So this is going to remove what? Additional spaces before and after, right? That what it does, right? Then at line number 69, we invoked here what? Print pattern, right? And we were passing here 4 as an argument, and the entire function execution was running as what? N is equal to 4, right? And we got our desired output also. So let us clear the terminal and let us write here what? Node08 pattern.js. And if we see, we are getting here our desired output, okay? Now what I want from you all guys, try experimenting with the different values of n and let me know the results in the comment section, okay? And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more programming tutorials, and I will see you in the next one. Till then, keep coding, keep learning, keep growing. Thank you so much guys. Take care.